Well, I see a lot of people that that are being misdirected, misguided, and there's only one way to really articulate it. I guess is, ladies and gentlemen, there is no substitution for reading. There are many people out there that regurgitate the shit that they hear. They have no firsthand experience or knowledge of what they speak of. They've never been a day, not one, to court. I once had a judge tell me, Derek, all you're doing in this courtroom is babbling. Okay, that was back in 2016, 17. Quite a long time ago. All you're doing is babbling, Derek. At first, I took great offense to it because I knew what I was conveying. He knew damn good and well what I was conveying. But I was speaking with a lot of pronouns: this, that, it, she, he, it, that, this. I wasn't forming proper sentences. So all I was essentially doing was babbling. I was saying nothing and projecting hot air out there. And although it made sense to me, it didn't make sense to him. He's just doing me a favor pointing it out. And it pissed me off at the time. Because I knew what I was talking about. And he damn sure knew what I was talking about. I've had a lot of animosity towards most of these bar card holding member judges. And some of them have kind of directed me in the right direction. And only in hindsight did I figure out what they were actually trying to convey to me. And then I would go back into court. And I would change my juxtaposition through my studies, through reading. Henry R. Gibson, Suits and Chancery, Joseph Story, Pomeroy, Judge Cooley, Judge Taney, reading all these books. And it would help me formulate a true and correct sentence. But not only that, it would help me better understand my rights. I see all this nonsensical rhetoric of you've got to have paper. You've got to have paper. Paper is the way to go. And I'm not saying that paper is a bad thing. But over the last week, I've had a number of scheduled calls with people. And they say, I am now a national. I am now a state national. And we operate with lawful money. And I say, oh yeah? You operate with lawful money? I said, how much does a dollar weigh? And what is the true definition of a dollar? Because, ladies and gentlemen, there is only one definition that exists for a dollar. One. So it breaks my heart to see all these people filing this nonsensical paper talking about how they're nationals, but they don't even fucking understand what they're saying. They can't even define the very essence and principle of a de jure government, which all hinges on something of physical, tangible substance. A real dollar has intrinsic value. A real dollar is not something that is shredded, burnt, and discarded as yesterday's newspapers. A real dollar is something that applies clean across the board in all countries. A real dollar is something that you can leave America with and land on a different shore in a different country and it be accepted immediately on the spot for international trade. A real dollar weighs 247 grains. And it's actually 247.23 grains, which is what Congress was put in place for. Weights, measures, arsenals, Navy, and Army. Oh. Had another gentleman call me. wanted to talk about a 1099-A process he did. Stated that he was the payer, they were the debtor. It's not even the correct words. I can tell when people haven't even read the instructions on documents. And you're doing yourself a disservice. There is no substitution for reading. There's no substitution for firsthand knowledge and experience gained out in the field. Any soldier will tell you that. Anybody in the construction industry will tell you that. You can read all the books you want, but until you put thought into physical force and action, you're pissing up a rope. It's all theoretical until you actually do something about it. Some of the most brilliant minds I hang out with are unbelievably learned through reading books. But they themselves haven't been into a court. And they're very knowledgeable people. But they don't put it into action. They show me things. And I'm willing to utilize what they've shown me and put it into action. And I yield results doing it. It's amazing. I've learned in my life that there are thinkers, there are people who support, and then there are doers, but it's very rare that you ever find all three in one. Very rare. Be careful who you're following. Because these people might land you in the Iron Hotel. They might land you in the Iron Hotel. And I'm going to tell you, as a man who's been to the Iron Hotel, prison and jail both, when you're in there, you'll be by yourself. And all these people that were giving you these brilliant, bright fucking ideas won't be there. Remember that. And I'm speaking from experience, and I'm speaking to all of you. I don't want to see any of you go to jail doing 1099 processes, not fully comprehending and understanding what you do. It's dangerous. The IRS won't come for you tomorrow if you do a 1099. Hell, you could do a 1099 OID, 1099A, 1099B, 1099C, 1099 NIT. You could do all these 1099 forms over a series of the next 6 months. Hell, you might even receive a fucking check if you do it. I know some people that have, and they got a nice knock on their door. And you could do all these processes and say that they were accepted and yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, within the next 3 to 5 years, you will get a visit. I promise you, you'll get a visit. And if you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, you will be going to jail for defrauding the United States Treasury. There are many of good people who are far more learned in the IRS manuals than I am that are sitting in prison right now. Just think about that. And they didn't watch shit on YouTube and decide to fucking have a hair trigger and throw shit at the wall and hope it stuck. These people actually read the IRS publication 1212, so on and so forth. There's a number of publications that you really have to read if you're going to understand who the nominee is, you're going to understand who the lender is, you're going to understand who the payer is, who the borrower is, all that good stuff. And it's lender and borrower. It's not payer and debtor. People use those words around me when filling out forms, and I know that they didn't read the instructions. And I try and forewarn them, don't go off half-cocked. You will regret it. I promise you, somewhere down the line in the next 3 to 5 years, they will be having a conversation with you. Be warned. Be very careful doing the 1099 process. It's not a game, and it's not a joke, and you could find yourself behind bars for 10 to 15 years over a fucking piece of paper, over a stupid fucking piece of paper. Be careful. Read the instructions. Understand what you're doing. This is the way I look at the 1099s. All right? If you're not licensed by the licensor as a licensee, to utilize those documents, what the fuck are you doing? House Joint Resolution 192, Public Law 7310, all right? 48, Stat 1248. I could go on and on and on. Federal Reserve Act of 1913, Section 10111. The American people signature is the credit of the United States. Title 18, subsection 8. And even I, at this point, just rattling off that shit off the top of my fucking head. Title 18, subsection 8. All notes, drafts, banks, Federal Reserve bank notes, checks, letters of credit, all that stuff is the obligation of the United States. All of it. This is all off the top of my head, and I still don't play with 1099s. I don't do it. So, take it for what it's worth. The phone call that I had a little while ago about a gentleman doing the 1099s, and I said, if I was you, I would write the IRS and apologize and say that you made a mistake and ask for forgiveness and to straighten that record out. Because wherever you got that information, I could tell you didn't read. And he goes, yeah, you're right, I didn't read it. I heard it on YouTube. Man, ask for forgiveness now. Tell them that you need to correct the record. You made a mistake. And let it go. Because your intent wasn't pure, first of all, when you did what you did. And I'm not even going to repeat what he did on here, because I don't want somebody going, oh, I heard it come from Dirk, so it must be accurate. Because they won't listen to the whole thing. They only listen to what they want to hear. But people need to understand what constitutes a contract. All right? You can't just go forcing people to dispose of their property because you did a 1099A. And then there's other forms that go with it. It's not just a 1099A. You got to hammer the 8281 in there too. It requires a massive amount of reading before you do things like that. So I do not advocate for the 1099 process at all. And if you're going to do stuff with these agencies, here's some words of advice. All right? Notify them and put them on notice about what you are intending to do and what you believe to be true, factual, and not misleading in any way. Because they have a duty to inform you once you put them on notice. And if they don't say, hey, we've looked into what you're talking about and we don't recognize that, that's frivolous. If they don't say something like that to you, then you're probably good to go, because no news is good news. All right? But at least you gave notice. So if you get drug into a court 3, 4, 5 years down the road, you could say, look, on such and such day, at such and such time, I got a hold of the Treasury in Puerto Rico, or the Secretary of the Treasury in Puerto Rico, or Janet Yelling, and I told them what I was going to do, and I told them if there was an issue to respond to me within the next 30 days, and they never responded. Now you have an adequate defense, or at least somewhat of a defense, from getting hemmed up for what more than likely will be perceived as fraud, an attempt to defraud the United States Treasury. Not a good place to be. There are a lot of people out there that say you have to have paperwork in order to enforce your rights. I'm telling you right now, with firsthand perfected knowledge, executing these processes in court, you do not have to have a lick of paper filed or recorded anywhere to affirm your rights and to defend your rights. You don't have to have a piece of paper filed anywhere. It is common knowledge and common sense from the day you were in kindergarten. You keep your hands and your feet to yourself. You don't touch what doesn't belong to you. You don't take what you don't own. And you always ask for permission to use other people's shit. It's elementary. It's so simple, it's elementary. The Fourth Amendment, people don't understand the right to privacy, how valuable that is. What are these people doing with your private intellectual property? How'd they get it? Why do they have it? And what the fuck are they doing with it? Are you asking those questions? Because with those questions, ladies and gentlemen, you will find the answers you've been searching for. And it's really not fucking rocket science. You got a class coming up. It's titled Warrants. Dare to discover the truth and live free or die trying. Yeah, it's a pretty poignant point. Very powerful statement. The thing is, it's more than just about warrants, but warrants, the Fourth Amendment, is really where we should all start. Because the fourth leads into the fifth, and the fifth leads into the sixth, and these are the most basic, fundamental, unalienable rights that in the 21st century we wouldn't really think need to be explained, but unfortunately, due to the dumbing down of the American people and furthermore the people of the world, we're going to have to go into it. Just think about this for a second. If I don't have the right to walk into another man's house and take shit out of his refrigerator, what gives the government the right to do it? If we, the people, created government to protect our rights, how do they have more authority and more power than we do? Yeah, I already know they don't. And I don't have 10,000 pieces of fucking paper floating around on public records. I got a few, but you really don't need that shit. It's as simple as putting them on notice. You're causing I harm by way of trespass, by way of baratray, by way of theft, by way of robbery, by way of extortion, by way of kidnapping, by way of false imprisonment, by way of false arrest. Boy, them words right there are fucking powerful. Damn, they're powerful. And I just want to inform you, you carry the primary active degree of fault for liability for the harm, damage, and loss you're causing me. And I'm willing to verify that in court. It's about that simple and about that fucking sweet. I've been doing this a long time, about 12 years. Seen a lot of people come out of the woodworks. I've seen people come, seen people go, seen people with brilliant minds disappear. Not saying one way or the other, whether they're in jail or whether they found a way to true enlightenment and have found peace with the whole situation. I'll tell you right now, I'm of the mindset that there's a need for the system. There are a lot of ignorant people out there. There are a lot of very dangerous people out there that if they weren't governed by something, they'd be absolutely heathenish. You know, that Batman movie, Joker says, oh, you'll see soon enough. When shit hits the fan, the most civilized people will do heinous acts 100 times worse than what I'm doing. That section of that movie is such a poignant point. It's so true. Good men will do extraordinarily stupid and dangerous shit when they're left with no other option. They will be the most ruthless people you have ever met in your fucking life. They're the very hypocrites that go to church on Sunday and beg for forgiveness, and yet Monday morning are doing the same heinous activity that they went to repent for on Sunday. Never changing a damn thing they're doing. Never changing their ways. You put good men in a situation where they have to do heinous acts in order to survive, and they will do it every day of the week. No questions asked. And they won't think twice about morality, what's right, what's wrong. All they're thinking about is survival. Law enforcement seems to be waking up. My fear about that is they'll be ushering in the United Nations troops soon enough. People go, oh, you're full of shit. Oh, really? I am? See, here's the problem. Everybody freaked out this year when Joe Biden said that we're gonna yield to the United Nations and we're gonna give away all the U.S. citizens' rights to the United Nations. Do you not realize that was already done in the 40s? They're talking about shit they already did clear back in the 40s when they sold the seats of the United States government, corporation, if you will, to the United Nations. Don't believe me? Go read a book. Go look it up. 1940s. That's when they did that. Why are they bringing it up in 2022? Oh, that's right. It's a nice distraction. Oh, you don't believe me? Well, check this shit out. United Nations has had a headquarter in fucking Utah for years now. Back in my granddad's day and my great-granddad's day, there'd have been hell to pay for foreigners setting up a headquarters in the middle of the United States in Utah. Shit would have hit the fucking fan. It's not happening in 2022. Everybody's been lulled to sleep. Never the wiser what's really going on. And maybe there's some good that came out of a prior administration. Perhaps. We'll see. That's yet to be determined. What it boils down to is the government is a direct reflection of society. If the society is piss poor, doesn't behave itself properly, doesn't conduct itself morally, well, as a mere reflection, you have what you have today in government. The government doesn't act properly. They're lying, looting, stealing, plundering, and thieving because the masses are ignorant enough to allow it to happen. Freedom isn't free. It's the greatest misconception the world has ever been told, that freedom's free. You're free. You're free. Let me ask you something. If I tell you that you have to have a life jacket, don't I have an obligation to provide you a life jacket? If I tell you that you have to have a license, don't I have an obligation to give you the license? I mean, if you have to have a license, aren't they obligated to give it to you? Not make you pay for it, not make you give sweat equity notes for it, not make you bust your ass to get it. If you're required by law to have it, why don't they give it to you? It's food for thought. They're pretty crafty on how they trick people in to these contracts. They're even more crafty about how they hold them accountable for these blind adhesion contracts where there's not a mutual ascension of the fucking mind. They're brilliant when it comes to stealing your private intellectual property. And I said stealing, and that's probably a bad word. How about this? We captured that, Derek. It's ours now. Well, how'd you get it? Who gave it to you? Why do you have it? When did you get it? All right? Who, what, when, where, how, and why are your best fucking friends. Instead of making statements, I suggest you all start asking a lot of fucking questions. Like that annoying 5-year-old kid that just learned how to talk. Why does a butterfly fly, Dad? Because he's got wings. Well, how does he fly? He flaps them. Well, how come I can't fly? You notice a 5-year-old kid that hasn't been jaded or tainted yet is just loaded with questions, and it drives everybody fucking insane. But the brilliance in not knowing anything at all and asking questions, there's nothing you can ever be held liable for. And the reason I say that to you is because people make statements and don't realize that you can't prove anything. You can't prove anything. I can't prove my name's Derek. I've been told that. I've been led to believe that. I've been known to use that calling. I've also been called son of a bitch, asshole, brother, right? Father. I've been called a lot of things throughout my life. Are those my titles? No. Do I own them? No. Who carries the primary active degree of fault for the name, guys? Who created it? When was it created? Why was it created? Think about that. My mama always said people would take the mark of the beast and technology would be the people's greatest downfall. She lived to about 101 years old. She was very, very spiritual. Didn't get enough time with that woman. Boy, I wish I had. And she was talking about technology being our greatest downfall before cell phones even existed. Bag phones, all that stuff. Technology will be our greatest downfall. And looking back at what she said out there in Kentucky that time, I couldn't even imagine the way that we're living today in the 21st century. I couldn't even imagine. And somehow she had the foresight to see it before they even had cell phones out, before they even had bag phones out. She knew it was coming. It was amazing. The disconnect of the youth and the elders dying off having firsthand perfected and superior knowledge of the truth, and the history books now being written by the legislator and government and politicians. So the truth is being muddied. The waters are being made murky and causing confusion amongst our fellow brothers and sisters. Be mindful of the people you follow. And if they're not telling you to read a book, they're probably not worth following. If they're not providing adequate guidance of where you should start reading, they're probably not worth following. Think about this. Everybody quotes the federal Constitution. I quote it all the time. Where's the ultimate power that protects your rights? Where's it lodged at? Where's the line in the sand actually drawn by we the people? Just think about it for a minute. It's the state constitutions. The federal government has no bearing over what the state does until the people of the state say, whoa, 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 Scooter. You encroach upon Article 1, Section 21 of the Indiana Constitution. You have engaged in peonage, slavery, bondage, and you owe me. Involuntary servitude shall not be had. It was established by the Treaty of Ghent and long antecedent to the Treaty of Ghent, because from the very beginning of time, slavery is wrong. Voluntary servitude, a completely different thing. Forced slavery is wrong. Human trafficking is wrong. Period. There's no way to muddy those waters. Those are just facts. And then there's executive orders that support that. Then there's declarations by Congress that support that. Then there's the legislators that say it's true. But where did they get all that? That's right. The people's constitutions that said these are things we won't put up with. These are things that might have you swinging from the end of a rope if you violate them and you hold office, or you proclaim to hold office, or you take an oath of office, and you encroach upon our rights. You may find yourself swinging from an end of a rope. That's the reality of it. There are things far worse than death. Living destitute, very bad deal. All right? Anybody that's ever went hungry understands that there are things far worse than death. An empty stomach, wishing there was food, pulling a Peter Pan, trying to pretend there was something on that sandwich, on that piece of bread, it's far worse than death. It's all right to be wrong in your process of gaining acquired knowledge. It's okay to make mistakes. Mistakes are forgivable. Errors are costly. Errors are commercial. Mistakes are what man make. And we're to be forgiven for our mistakes. So when you're executing processes, I don't give a shit if it's 1099s, W-4s, you're addressing the courts for any reason, you might be wise to take heed in what I'm about to tell you. Everything you do in this life should be with good intent, in good faith, with a pure heart, not with the intentions to mislead or defraud anybody or anything for any reason. Intent can never be proven. Intent must be stated. What's your intent when you're doing these processes? Is your intent to get something free, or is your intent to get something you are fucking owed? Think about that for a moment. I worked for a 65-year-old Marine one time. Friday was payday. I was so happy to get paid because there was a hot little dame that I was going to be taking out on the town, and I was very excited. Good-looking gal. Been talking about it all that day, about how I was going to go out for the weekend with this young lady, and how I was awfully excited about it. And he handed me my check. I was knocked off at about 12 o'clock on Friday. And he handed me my check, and I reached out and to shake his hand, and I said, "Thank you." I'll never forget what that old bull did. He reached over, he grabbed the check, he tore it in half, tore it again, threw it in the air, and said, "Don't ever thank a fucking man for what is owed to you." And he walked off. Pretty devastating day for me. All I was thinking about was getting paid and going and hanging out with this little lady, going to the movies, having some fun. I was young at that age, so wasn't very promiscuous, but I was looking forward to having a great time. It was a hard lesson learned that weekend. Because the son of a bitch didn't pay me till like the following Wednesday. But I learned a good lesson. You don't ever thank anybody for something you're rightfully fucking owed. And everybody is due and owing respect, dignity, right? And their rights. Everybody is owed their rights. The right to be left the fuck alone. And I don't care if you color it with government, color of law, color of oppression, color of authority. I don't care if it's titles of fucking nobility. No man has more rights than you do. All men are created fucking equal. I've had a great bout of success here in the last 6 months. Just keeping things fucking simple. I no longer write 90-page fucking essays and documents for the court. The stuff that I'm turning out now is literally 3 to 5 fucking sentences long. I make my point. I don't subvert from it. I don't take my focus off the main subject and divert it to something that's inferior to the main subject matter. Focus on one subject and one solution, and don't subvert. If I'm going after somebody for false arrest, I'm not bringing up the fact that they kicked Tommy 6 years ago, and that makes him a bad guy. All right? I'm going after him for a particular action at a specific date and time at a specific fucking location that constituted false arrest. People don't understand about false arrest and false imprisonment. It's the most basic elemental right of all of mankind from the beginning of time, was the right to be left alone, absent a victim. What I've learned recently about sham pleadings is so stupid simple that everybody should know it. And it is a very easy and effective way to shut down all the bullshit. Because why? That's right. I have the right to face my accuser. Well, Derek, wait a minute. I read the Constitution, and the Constitution, it doesn't say you have a right to face your accuser. It says you have a right to face a witness. Could it be that the witness is the accuser? Could it be that in order to be an accuser of somebody doing a wrong to you, you would have to be able to articulate the date, the time, the place, the who, the what, the where, the when? You won't necessarily know the why. That's speculation. Objection, speculation. Sustained. Great. But you'll damn sure know the who, the what, the where, the what, and how. Right? So if you don't have before you, in a court setting, true, correct, and not misleading complaint that's verifiable. How many of you actually know what a verifiable fucking complaint is? Took me a while to learn that shit too. But I got it now. And life is so much fucking sweeter. All this paperwork, all this mumbo jumbo, all this fucking horse shit, and it is really fucking simple. Who, what, when, how. Who, what, when, how. You don't necessarily have to know the why. You just have to know the who, the what, the when, and the how. A verifiable affidavit must be allonged and accompanying the verified fucking complaint or claim. If it is not there, it's all bullshit. It's nothing more than a RICO racketeering scheme under the color of law, color of authority to oppress you, to trick you into entering into a contract. You want to know why 98% of the time the DA wins his cases? The district attorney, the prosecutor wins his cases? You want to know why he wins the cases 98% of the time? I'll tell you why. Because they make plea deals. I can honestly say that I've been involved in more jury trials than probably 70% of the lawyers out there. And you want to know what's interesting about that? I've only had one jury trial so far. I'm looking forward to the next one. That was my first one. I never even went to law school, and I spanked the shit out of them. Every last one of them in that room knew I spanked the shit out of them. What I didn't count on was failing the jury. I failed the jury. I was informed to give jury instructions. I thought the judge was trying to pull a fast one on me. Told the clerk, you tell fucking the judge he can kiss my ass. I'm not fucking doing a fucking thing, he tells me. In hindsight, boy, my own worst enemy again. Had to look in the mirror and go, damn, dude. They call you on a Saturday? The clerk of the court calls you on a Saturday? What makes you so fucking special? The clerk of the court on a Saturday is calling you up saying, judge wants you to write up jury instructions. And I was so fucking naive, pompous, and arrogant. I told her, you tell the judge he can go fuck himself. Yep, that's me. Always learning lessons the hard way. And I come on here to speak freely with you guys so you don't have to go through the same fucking pain I did. I come to you very humbly, shrouded in humility because of my egotistical, pompous fucking ways in the past. And I hope and I pray that my words of wisdom will shine a little light, because you are the alpha and the omega in those situations. You have all the fucking power. All of it is yours. And as soon as you understand sham pleadings, full legal names, the proper procedures and processes, you will start to prevail in your cases. You can shut down fucking child support in 5 fucking seconds. It's easy. It's simple. And you don't even have to go to fucking court to do it. So anyway, I look forward to seeing you guys at class. It's early in the morning. It's been a long day. I got a lot of work going on. Just want to give some words of wisdom and hope they don't fall on deaf ears. Don't be scared. Don't be meek. Don't be weak. When you execute things, do it with conviction. Always execute it in good faith, with pure intent, a pure heart, with being mindful and respectful to the best of your ability. Say what's true, accurate, and not misleading. And always, 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 always do it in good faith. And if you've made a mistake, acknowledge that mistake and ask for forgiveness and move forward. This applies in everything in your life. And it's the only thing that separates us from the politicians. See, politicians will never admit when they're wrong. They'll always try to justify it. They may act like they are going to admit what it's wrong, but then what they'll do is they'll say, but, that word but, that's a slap in the fucking face. It's a slap in the fucking face. When somebody tells you, yeah, I know I did you wrong, but they're justifying it in their head, okay? They're trying to get you to believe their lie. Their narcissistic tendencies can't admit when they're wrong. And that word but just simply tells you that they're going to do it again. And then who's the fool? That'd be you. Happens to me once, shame on me. Happens to me twice, shame on you. Right? So, with that said, I'm going to go get some sleep. I had a long day ahead of me. I'm working on a pretty big case out in California. It's a rock star case. It's the biggest thing I've ever tried to chew on. And I've got some people who are really attentive, and I firmly believe in my heart they will prevail. And we're going to do it without them ever seeing one day in fucking court. We're going to do it via paper, because when you understand unalienable rights, substantive rights, and how to enforce the Constitution, ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to go to court. When you understand what constitutes sham pleadings, and when the court agrees that the case has to be dismissed for sham pleadings, you realize the court recognizes the criminality in the initial pleadings. The pleadings are vague and ambiguous. They're using false and fictitious misnomers, unregistered names, in an artifice and a scheme in order to extort, engaging in baratray, causing harm, damage, and loss. And I think we should probably move for sanctions, Judge. Don't you think this court thinks justice shall be had? Because after all, Judge, justice delayed is justice fucking denied. And in America, we don't put up with that fucking horse shit. Do we, Judge? Yep. Oh. Just think about that for a minute. I just gave you some fucking jewels that nobody else is talking about. Think about the trespasses that occur and what your remedy is. Because in most instances, the only remedy you can get is going to be some type of compensation. Because they don't make any more time, and they can't give you that time back. So about the only other option they got is just compensation. You see, your automobile taken from you on the side of the road by a road pirate constitutes Title 18, 1661, piracy on the shore. Death by hanging is the remedy for that. I don't much really need that blood on my hands, so I'll take just compensation behind door number 2 versus watching a tyrant swing from a fucking rope, right? As a less desirable option, if compensation can't be had, well, I guess string him up. You see, everybody's supposed to be independently bonded because that's how we get rid of the shit stains running around here alleging that they're enforcing and protecting and upholding the Constitution. That's a surefire way of cleaning this shit show up. Everybody must be independently bonded. Because when you make a claim against their bond, it's a lot like saying, hey, a car accident happened on such and such intersection at such and such time at such and such date, and it's that man's fault. Oh, and he gets too many of those accident reports, and guess what? He can't work for the people anymore. Because what he's doing is taking his income under false pretenses, which constitutes honest services fraud, which is in fact a fucking felony. It's theft by deception. Oh shit. Another jewel for you guys. You know how quick it is to hammer them on this? Just ask them how many amendments are in the Constitution and watch them all freeze up. Just ask them. Ask any cop, ask any politician, ask anybody. How many amendments are in the Constitution? How many enumerated rights are in the Bill of Rights? Just ask them. Watch them freeze. They can't answer that shit. Yet they swore a fucking oath to protect it. Do you realize what an oath is? An oath is a promise for life. You pledge your life, your sacred honor, everything on what you're doing. How many of them even know fucking how many amendments are in the Constitution? Do me a favor sometime. Go ask your local sheriff how many amendments are in the Constitution, then come back on here and give me his answer. I will be astonished if we find one out there that actually fucking knows. Maybe instead of electing people based on popularity, because we think they're cool or they're good with kids, we start electing people, right, as electors, not voters. We start electing public officials as electors who actually can pass the fucking test and understand what a constitution is and what an oath is and what it means and how to uphold it. What's public policy? We're going to talk about that in class. Public policy is huge when dealing with bankruptcies. And you can rest assured they are absolutely bankrupt. And public policy does apply. So does the Constitution. It's a miracle when you finally pierce the veil of bullshit and you can see clear how it works. And yes, you can get enforcement. These people out there that are telling you can't get enforcement, I got news for you. I'm getting enforcement. And it ain't that fucking hard. And I'm going to have some real good news for you here in the next few weeks. Actually, maybe close to the 19th, 20th of this month. I don't know if these people will actually come public and talk about it. And that's completely their prerogative, and I won't hold it against them if they choose not to. They're great people, wonderful students, very ambitious, and guess what? They read. They read and follow directions and assignments, and they are fucking kicking ass right now. And I'm so proud of them. So, with that said, I do have a class coming up July 23rd. Be much obliged if you care to join. Be pretty cool. Lot to offer, lot to gain. And as always, at the end of the class, I'll open it up. I'll open up the floor and we'll entertain questions and people's trials, tribulations, and errors that they've made in the courts or just in life in general. And see if we can't line them up with the right people for providing proper guidance. I don't have all the answers. I'll be the first one to fucking tell you that. But I'm the type of man that'll run into a burning building just to make sure there's nobody in there, even though everybody else thinks there's no one in there. I will still go in that motherfucking burning building and make sure there's nobody there. So, hang out with the people that don't mind putting themselves in harm's way to make sure everybody else is safe. Those are the type of people I surround myself with. Those are the type of people that I ride or die with. The ones who are willing to apply themselves, absorb the knowledge, understand there's inherent risk and danger to it, and yet still move forward because they understand at the end of the day, freedom isn't free. I'll see you guys July 23rd, 2022 at 1 p.m.